So, if you've not caught my most recent videos, I set out the other day to pull out clips that basically, to me, make Jen look guilty. Make it look like she essentially did have knowledge of what had occurred with her daughter. And turns out that I had over an hour's worth of clips, so I had to split them up. So I've done a video where I looked at the things Jen said, which were supposedly speculation, but were right on the money, with regards to what happened to her daughter and where he took her daughter. And then yesterday's video, I was having a look at the things that Jen said about searching for her daughter, or more specifically, not searching for her daughter, and had a look at that. In this video, I want to look at basically her slip-ups, things that she said which raise eyebrows, basically. So I've put them in chronological order again, and let's just jump in and I'll discuss them as we go along.
How about, does she have like Apple Watch?
She's got a device. The only device she's got on her right now is her school laptop.
Her school laptop? Is that trackable?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
It should be trackable. It should be.
If the Wi-Fi is turned on, it'll try to connect to any Wi-Fi.
So by like circle here.
Well, does she not have a history of running away or anything? She's hanging out.
Now, obviously, that one wasn't so much about what Jen said, but what Jen did. So they're questioning her. And the question comes up, can her laptop be traced? And Jen said, I don't think so. And then one very helpful family member says, if it's turned on, then yes it can, or along those lines. Immediately, Jen starts with the swaying. That shows major anxiety. Someone saying that her daughter's laptop could be traced suddenly caused anxiety for Jen. That should be the opposite. You should expect to see her body relax a bit. You should expect to see some relief on her face. Wow, she's got her laptop with her. That can be traced. We can find my daughter. But no, you see the opposite. She starts to frown as she starts to sway. For Jen, it was concerning that her daughter's laptop could be traced. And we know why that was, because it was in the dumpster.
So you left approximately 2:30.
Yeah.
And pickups around 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now when you got there at 4, then what happened?
I waited in the car line for about 10 minutes, and she never came out.
Now, I know I've pointed that one out before, but I wanted to put all these slips together in one video. Basically, what has gone on here, they've asked her about the pickup. She said, I waited for around 10 minutes, and let me correct her there, she waited for 6 minutes. The bell went at 4 minutes past 4. By her accounts, she left at either 9 minutes past or 10 minutes past. I'm going to give her a little bit of grace and say 6 minutes instead of 5, but she didn't wait 10 minutes. But what she says here is she never came out. Not I didn't see her come out, but she never came out. Your daughter never came out of the school and you left? To me, that is one of the biggest red flags right there.
But if you're okay with it, I'd actually like to take her phone so that I can see if I can get anything else from it. You know, typically I will, typically me being able to go through it and go through text and social media will help me sort of establish a pattern of where people go and whatnot. If that's something you'd let me do.
Sure. Will you take her phone away forever, or just for right now?
Just for as long as I need it to actually go through it. So I'll give it back to you as soon as I'm done.
Will you take her phone away forever? No, Jen. If your daughter comes back, they're going to have no need to keep her phone, are they? Her saying, "Are you going to keep it forever?" is basically what you would expect to hear from a parent who knows that their child is deceased and that this is now a homicide investigation. But that's not the case here. They're supposed to be trying to find her missing daughter. They want the phone to see if there's any clues on it, and she immediately jumps to thinking that she might never get it back. That there is a major slip up, in my opinion. That screams guilt to me. Surely you would not jump to that straight up if you were hoping your child was coming back home. I would have expected something more along the lines of, "But what if Maddie comes home? Can we get it back then?" Or, "Maddie might need it when she gets back." Or anything like that. Anything suggesting that, well, we will get it back when Maddie comes back, right? Not, will you be keeping it forever?
Does she have dirty laundry or like a
The
hamper?
dirt, her most recent dirty laundry is on my bathroom floor, and we've walked around it. We haven't touched it.
Okay, so that confused me. Because logically, her most recent dirty laundry would either be her pyjamas from the night before or the dress that she wore to the party. If it was her pyjamas, that means that Maddie went through Jen's room, supposedly. We know she didn't, but that would mean that, according to this narrative, Maddie had gone through Jen's room to put her dirty laundry on the floor in the bathroom, or even got dressed in the bathroom before Stephen took her to school that morning. And yet Jen says nothing about having seen Maddie. If her most recent dirty laundry is the dress, we know that's not in Jen's bathroom. If, as Jen said, Maddie got home from the party, had a shower, got herself organised, then, and she's saying her most recent dirty laundry is in the bathroom, well, why would she dump? Let's look at this from what Jen's saying. We know that she didn't dump the dress on the bathroom floor. So are you telling me that she dumped her dirty underwear on the floor and then took the dress in and put it in the hamper? Because who does that? If you have dirty laundry, you don't just grab one part of that and put it in one spot and leave stuff in another spot. So there's something really wrong with this comment here of her most recent dirty laundry being on the bathroom floor. Because it means that either after she, or when she had her shower, she only dumped her dress in the laundry hamper and nothing else, which, like I said, doesn't make sense, especially when you look at the pile of clothes on the floor. Or it means that she went in and changed before school in Jen's bathroom, left her dirty laundry there, or changed and then took her laundry in there. Either way, these don't fit Jen's narrative.
Hey guys, so we're just gonna try to see if we could pull one more clothing for collection of clothes, okay? That's okay with you guys? Yeah. We're gonna pull one more and then we're gonna have the dog sniff it out again and see if we can get another track going.
It's so fresh.
Yeah. Alright?
Can I get you like the last outfit she was wearing?
Has it been like with other clothes and all that, like your clothes?
It got mixed in with clean clothes and dirty clothes.
What do you think?
Is it on the floor there in the bathroom?
It's in the laundry basket.
Were the other clothes not good enough?
No.
We just try to collect separate ones and then we separate all of them, just in case one was contaminated, we have something else we can use without having to come and bother you guys.
I was just thinking on Sunday, the last day we had her. Actually, we had her Monday morning, but Sunday, she had a Monday morning picture. So I wasn't sure if that would be helpful, but that's mixed in with clean and dirty clothes, I think.
Now, there's two things in there, but first of all, I'm going to address that comment. On Sunday, the last thing we had her, and then she pauses. People think that she said the last time we had her, but it definitely sounds like she says the last thing we had her.
I was just thinking on Sunday, the last day we had her. I was just thinking on Sunday, the last day we had her.
Let me know if you heard her say thing, the last thing we had her, whatever. But either way, it's a really odd comment. Either she's saying the last time we had her was Sunday, when she was wearing that dress, or the last thing we had her in. Well, when you say the last thing we had her in, that's not a natural way of describing the last thing someone was wearing. That basically puts Maddie in a passive situation where she has no control over what she's wearing. The last thing we had her in, not the last thing that Maddie was wearing. Could be nothing, but it is a really, really odd way of saying it. But here's the thing. She's saying this is the last thing that Maddie was wearing, essentially. But she's also claiming that there was dirty laundry, which was the last thing that she wore, on her floor in her bathroom. Which goes back to the question of what I was saying with the previous clip. Which is it? Is it the dress that she wore last? Is it her pyjamas that she wore last? If it was the dress and underwear, why have underwear in the bathroom and the dress in the hamper in the bedroom? If it was her pyjamas, then why wouldn't Jenn have seen her go through her bedroom to dump her pyjamas in her bathroom? And also, of course, to brush her teeth, brush her hair, do her makeup, all those sort of things. To me, there's a major, major hole in the timeline here. There's a major hole in Jenn's story. And yet nobody seems to have questioned her about it.
We have officially taken over the case, okay? So...
Are you guys with Kissimmee?
No, we're with Orange County. It's just a different unit.
Oh, okay. What unit are you with?
We're with sex crimes.
Okay.
It's just because of her age and is why we take over. Does that make... I know it's kind of confusing, but, like, we have, like, different rules.
Okay, I'm going to tackle the more obvious one first. When she says to Jenn, "We're with sex crimes," she's like, okay. Basically, it comes out as a question. Okay. Like, tell me more. But that's not the reaction that you would expect there. When someone has just told you that your missing child, they've now put it to a different unit, and it's not the unit that was investigating a missing child now, it is a unit that investigates sex crimes. She should have gone off her head here. Now, she's claimed on one hand that she never thought a thing about Stefan, but then you get the Woody Allen comment and the phone under the bathroom door comment. And yet here she's utterly unperturbed. That's not the normal reaction that you would expect when someone basically says, well, actually now I'm from sex crimes. That's how we're investigating your child's case. Is she really that dumb? Or is she just not knowing how to react to it because she knows that that's what's going on, or part of what's going on? But the thing that I think so many people have been caught up on, that part of the conversation, that they missed something important here. When she says that she's from a different division, Jenn asks, are you from Kissimmee? And where she says no, Jenn reacts like she's relieved. Why would she be relieved that it wasn't Kissimmee investigating her missing daughter? Just think on that for half a moment, and then I'll explain. The reason she's relieved is because if it is now Kissimmee investigating her daughter, that means they are saying that her daughter went missing from the house. The house is in Kissimmee. The alleged drop-off to school occurred in Orlando. So by bringing the investigation to Kissimmee, they're bringing it to the house. Jenn is relieved because they're not bringing the investigation back to the house. They're not investigating her and Stefan. Otherwise, why sound relieved that it's not Kissimmee investigating your missing child? I can't think of any other explanation.
We have officially taken over the case, okay? So...
Are you guys with Kissimmee?
No, we're with Orange County. It's just a...
That sigh at the end, that was definitely a sigh of relief.
Oh, and then yesterday she had her... Or Sunday she had her birthday party, right?
Sunday she had her birthday party.
Okay, what time was that party at?
It started at 3 o'clock.
Okay, from 3 to what time?
I'm not sure. I wasn't there. I was at work.
Oh, okay, you weren't there.
But I know my sister home around 8:30.
Was Stefan here at that time?
I'm not sure if he was here at the time, but I think he got here a little bit after. And he was like, okay, she was already doing what she was supposed to. She had taken her nighttime meds, and she was getting ready for bed, like taking a shower. She'd take showers at night.
Okay, here's the problem with that. What she's saying here is that essentially Stephanie dropped Maddie off, and then before Stefan arrived, now that was 8:30 at night, before Stefan arrived 15 minutes later, Maddie had already taken her nighttime meds, according to Stefan, and was in the shower. Okay, well, here's the thing. Maddie's nighttime meds are supposed to help her sleep. They're supposed to make her drowsy, and According to the stories that we've heard from Jenn, the meds affect Maddie so much that there are some mornings when she's still really drowsy when she wakes up. And yet, we have this story from Jenn that when she came home, she then spent half an hour with Maddie telling her all about her birthday, counting out her money, talking about her presents, and the other 20 million other things that apparently occurred in that half-hour period of time. That was 2 hours after Maddie took her meds. Wouldn't you expect that if she took her meds at 8:30, she would have either been asleep already when Jenn got home, or she would have been so drowsy that she probably would have been just like, oh well, good night, and then headed off to bed. She wouldn't have had that adrenaline still going from the party. The meds would have cut that out completely. She would have been too drowsy to really give a damn about counting up her money or talking about her presents or talking about her party. So either she took her meds at 8:30 and she was either asleep when Jenn got home, or she was too drowsy for that whole conversation that Jenn claims occurred, or she didn't take her meds at 8:30, and then that's just utter BS also. But definitely there's a major problem here with the timeline, and to me it makes Jenn look like a liar, because she would know if she had this conversation with Maddie at 10:30. She would have to know that Maddie hadn't taken her meds. If Maddie did take her meds, Jenn wouldn't have had that conversation. Either way, she's being deceptive here in what she's telling detectives.
Did you come back to the apartment at any point yesterday once you realized she was missing?
Stefan was at home waiting for us to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I told him something was wrong, she never made it to school, he completely hauled it back to me. And then we all stood there waiting for the cops to show up, and they didn't show up till like 7:30.
Okay, it would be really easy to miss that if you weren't listening really, really hard. When she's asked, did you go back to the apartment, Jenn says no, so quietly that you can barely hear it. And then she comes out with the narrative of Stefan was waiting at the apartment, and then when I rang him, he booked it to the mother's house, back to the mother's office, sorry, not house. And then we waited there till police came. So it appears that she's answered no, but she's done it so very quietly. Why has she done it so quietly? Because she knows that that's a lie. We've seen on the timeline from detectives that they actually know that she went back to the apartment at 6 p.m. The timeline, which is based on phone pings, surveillance footage, etc., has her back at the apartment at 6 p.m. So she's saying no really quiet because she knows that's a lie. And then, because she knows she's just said a lie, in her normal voice, instead of simply leaving it at that or repeating it louder, she changes to the narrative of Stefan was waiting there, then he came, and then we waited around at the office till the police came. Which is still a lie by omission, because yes, Stefan was at the apartment. Yes, Stefan did go to the office. And yes, they did wait there until the officers arrived, but in between Stefan going to the office and then waiting till officers arrived, she also returned to the apartment and then went back and did wait till officers arrived. But she's left that part out very skillfully. So she's actually not totally lied there. She's steered the narrative a little bit there to avoid admitting that she did go back. And I don't know why she needs to admit that she didn't go back to the apartment unless there is a guilty reason for that. Wouldn't it make sense to say, yeah, I dashed back just to double check and see if there were any clues there, or see if Maddie had turned up or something?
But yeah, no, we did not come back home until we were done with the police. We were done with everything. There was nothing else for us to do except come back home.
And again, technically she's not lying there. She said, we did not come back until after everything was done, essentially. So the question had been, did you go back to the apartment? How does she get around it? She says no, really, really quiet, so it's almost inaudible. Then she goes on to talking about Stefan, which is just a complete distraction from the question, and that then we waited around till police came. But then she redirects back to the question, but answers it as, we did not go back to the apartment. Because no, they didn't go back to the apartment together. She went back, they didn't. And I think there's a very, very skillful bit of manipulation going on there. I know there's a lot of people out there who are claiming that Jenn lacks the mental capacity and that she's innocent, she's just a bit dumb. But I think when you listen to how often she avoids giving direct answers to questions, or she skews her answers so that she's not giving truthful answers, but in a way that you may not pick up on it unless you listen to what she's saying. I actually think that she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was saying. There's definitely an attempt here to deceive. And I think her saying it that way, whether she consciously or subconsciously changed it to, we did not return to the apartment, either way, that's very telling.
When the deputies first talked to you, when you were reporting her missing,
Yeah.
you remember writing a statement?
Yes.
Okay. In that statement, you say you saw Maddie.
I saw. I know. I misremembered. I didn't see her.
Okay.
I wanted to believe I saw her, but I didn't.
But when you're talking to the deputy on his body cam, you describe what she's wearing.
Because she had picked it out the night before.
Okay.
There's just so many little bits in that statement. First of all, I wanted to believe I saw her, but I didn't. Yeah, you know full well that you didn't see her and that you were lying in that statement. To say she misremembered is just a complete and utter lie. It is closer to the truth saying, I wanted to believe that I saw her. She knew when she wrote that statement that she hadn't seen her. But she wrote it anyway because that fitted the narrative. Then along the way, the narrative changed. But here's the thing. In a later interview, she turns around and says, well, I wrote that because someone said to me, write what you saw, so I started with I saw. But then I realised I didn't see that. So the story changes over time with her excuse over why she said that she saw Maddie. As for this bullcrap story about her picking her clothes out the night before, well, for starters, as we've established, either Maddie was already severely affected by her medications and probably falling asleep by the time Jenn got home, so she wouldn't have picked out her clothes that night. Or, here's the thing, you hear from Maddie's teachers and friends that Maddie's uniform, essentially, was her shorts, black shorts, and her green hoodie. So why would she need to pick it out the night before when that would be the go-to? Maddie had ADHD. When you have ADHD, one of the things that with getting dressed of a morning is that you have your go-to outfits. The things that you know are going to work and you don't have to put any time and thought or effort into, because that's just too much, too many processes there for the ADHD brain. So routines are important, and having things that you stick to are important for the ADHD brain. So Maddie would have gone for that outfit regardless. She didn't need to pick it out. Jenn would have known she didn't need to pick it out. So that is a complete and utter lie. And let's be realistic. That's just one of the many things that Jenn came out with to try and sound like she was actually a responsible parent. Do we really believe that Jenn was going to come home and organise her child for school the following day at 10:30 at night? Bullcrap. That just, it doesn't fly with me. And again, to me, it shows that Jenn is being deceptive. She's making errors with her narrative that basically show up her guilt, in my opinion.
Alright, now Maddie, what medication did she take?
She was on and anxiety medication. So that because she suffers from really bad GI issues, she's constantly constipated. What else? She had an asthma inhaler.
Again, I know I've covered that so many times, but it is so significant for me. She's having a trauma reaction there over Maddie's asthma inhaler. She says it, she repeats it really quietly, and then you can hear the change in her tone. For some reason, it is a cause of distress for her. That to me is one of the biggest signs of guilty knowledge that Jenn gives throughout all these interviews. And of course, as many people have pointed out, she also puts it in the past tense. She had an asthma inhaler. Not has, she had. Put those two things together, and that's really disturbing.
Where would she put clothes to wear to school the next day?
Okay. Where would she get dressed? She would get dressed in her bedroom, right there, that little nook in the living room. Mm-hmm. All her clothes are there. Mm-hmm. When she takes off her clothes, her dirty laundry hamper is typically in my bathroom downstairs, and she'll just dump it in the basket. But there is no basket there right now. She's been dumping everything on the floor. I think the basket is currently being used with clean clothes, so I just wanted to keep the clean clothes and the dirty clothes separated. So dirty clothes are on the floor right now. What's in the basket should be like half clean, half dirty clothes, I think.
And again, Jenny's saying here that Maddie gets dressed in her fake bedroom and her dirty clothes then go on the floor in Jen's bathroom. Well, now we haven't seen any pyjamas being left anywhere in Maddie's fake bedroom, so logically they should be on the floor in Jen's bathroom, which would also logically mean that Maddie went through Jen's bathroom that morning to dump her bedclothes. Well, Jenn has never said about Maddie going through her bedroom that morning. Also, there were no bedclothes on the floor in the bathroom. There were no bedclothes anywhere that I could see. None that were discarded. So, once again, there's something really wrong with Jen's narrative here. Because if this is how Maddie normally organises herself, well, either her bedclothes, if she was going to wear them again, should have been visible in her makeshift bedroom, probably dumped on her bed perhaps, or if she wasn't going to wear them again, dumped in Jen's bathroom, in which case Jenn would have heard her or seen her go through, and we would have seen them on the floor in the bathroom. There's some major irregularities here, and the way Jenn is so confident in her stories about Maddie's clothes suggests to me that either she's had some sort of frontal lobotomy and hasn't noticed that what she's saying doesn't match up with what is the truth, or she's just trying to pull the wool over their eyes. Either way, something's not right with this. Does it prove deception? I believe that it does, but I'm not sure that you could say, like, solidly that for sure it definitely does. Maybe here I'm just maybe reacting too much, thinking it over too much, but there's something definitely wrong with this whole clothing narrative. I think the big thing here is the lack of consistency. You know, they say liars have to have good memories. Jen's not consistent here. She's not remembering what she's saying.
Now, the dynamic between you three. I know you told me that sometimes you and her would sleep in the bed.
Yeah.
Sometimes the three of you would sleep in the bed. And then sometimes you would send him and her to a bedroom so you could get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
How long has that been going on?
Okay, so I'm going to say back in June.
Okay, to me, she's essentially admitted there that it was actually happening before June. Even before, I mean, logically you would think, okay, well, how could it happen before Stefan moved upstairs? Because the story is that he moved upstairs in June because they were broken up. But here she's saying, I'm gonna say June. But there's this huge, huge pause beforehand. And then she says, I'm gonna say. When she says, I'm gonna say, to me, that reeks of deception. That means, I'm gonna say this, but it's not true. I'm gonna say this, but the reality is. When I hear someone say, I'm gonna say, that means they're saying, I'm gonna say this, but that's not really what is the truth here. So we know that that upstairs room did at one point have a tenant, but that tenant had moved out quite some time back. So how long was this really going on, that Jenn was sending Maddie upstairs with Stefan? Because she's basically admitted here that it was happening before June. And yet, it's something that seems to have not been picked up on. And also note, the way she answers doesn't match the question. They ask her how long. She doesn't say, oh, roughly 8 months. She goes to, I'm gonna say June. Not, I'm gonna say since June. Or, oh, well, it would probably be since June. It's, I'm gonna say June. I'm gonna give you this narrative, this lie, because that fits with my whole story of us having been broken up, and that way I don't have to admit that I was sending them upstairs together before then. To me, this is another one of those massive red flags where Jenn has essentially told on herself without necessarily realising that that's what she's done.
He's never said anything to you or anything about it?
If anything, I've always told him that my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepdaughter or the dad grooms the child and the child turns 18 and ends up running away with him. I told him, like, that was my biggest fear and I don't ever want that happening. Like, you can't do that to me. Like,
why would you say that to him?
Because I never trusted. I grew up being told never trust a man. My mom put that in my body, never trust a man. And like, I did not completely 100% trust the man, but in my, like, the logic in my head was saying, you know, he's been in your life for 7 years, nothing's happened, he hasn't shown you anything that he's weird, or that he's done or that he's interested in her, or said anything about her body, or talked to her about her in any specific way that, like, freaked me out. He's never said anything like that, or shown me any of those signs, so I thought I could trust him, that he was safe, that he was a good guy, and that he was taking care of my baby and loved her the way I loved her, but...
Okay, so yeah, the Woody Allen comment is definitely disturbing. But something that hasn't been commented on with that comment is that she says she's always told him that. Not that this is something that recently occurred to her. This is something that has always been at the back of her mind. She claims on one hand that she can't trust men and that she's never one to trust men and yada yada, and he's never given her any reasons to suspect that he's doing anything. But at the same time, she says she's always told him this, which to me says that from the very day that he came into her lives, she's been worrying about this Woody Allen situation. Now, I'm sorry, but most people, when they enter into a relationship and they have children, that's going to be the last thing on their mind. if they trust the person they're with. She claims she trusts him, although she also says that her mum put it into her body, whatever she means by that, not to trust the man. So she's just a whole mass of contradictions here. But my biggest concern is this always. Yes, the Woody Allen comment is very, very concerning, but the fact that it has always been on the table, to me says that she's been aware of what he's been doing from the very start. It's not a natural thing to suspect that your partner might run off in the future with your pre-teen child. They were together for, 7 years according to the Stearnses? Or on and off. Because when you look at the things Jenn said about where they lived, where she lived, blah, 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 she mentions a few times having gone back and lived with her parents, we know, or with her mother. We know there's no way Yolanda would have had him in the house. So he probably lived with his parents at that point in time. But the point here is that if you take 7 years from 13, then she's essentially saying that from when Maddie was 6, she was worrying about this Woody Allen situation. If you take her at her word with, I was always saying, are you seriously going to suspect that a 6-year-old is going to run off with a 30-year-old when she gets older? This whole Woody Allen thing just makes me sick. It makes my stomach turn. And to me, this is one of the biggest red flags and one of the biggest signs of Jenn's guilt.
Okay, do you believe him?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because of the evidence, because of the photos, because of what you're telling me. Because he's clearly a liar. I want to hope my daughter's alive and out there and that she was taken. But I don't know anymore.
Okay, first of all, I want to know, do you think she sounds like she really is emotional there, or do you think it sounds like a put on? Now, what she's saying here, I want to hope that my daughter is out there and that she's taken, but I don't know. That's a complete contradiction. Yes, she knows. By saying I want to hope, and I've spoken about this in other videos, she's essentially saying there is no hope. She knows that her daughter is not out there somewhere. And yes, okay, I want to hope that she's out there and she's taken does sound a bit sick, but I think when you look at it in the context, she's trying to say, I want to hope that she's still alive somewhere, even if that means she's taken. But then the reality of what she is saying there is, I want to hope it. The inferred part there is, but I know there's no hope. And then she says, I don't know. Yes, she does know full well. She's putting on an act here for the detectives. To me, that's all it is. It's an act. She is not reacting in the way I would expect. She's been shown an image of her daughter deceased. She should be just about catatonic at that point. Maybe she should be saying, you're wrong. That can't be right. She's got to be alive. But no, she's saying, I want to hope. She doesn't believe there's any hope.
Well, I can be fairly confident that a stranger did not take Maddie. The only person she was with was Stefan.
Why would he go to Northport?
I don't know. I don't know what's in Northport other than his parents.
So he's doubled down there and tried to nail it into her thick brain that her daughter is deceased somewhere and that her ex-boyfriend is responsible for it. The expected response would be to be something about the fact that her daughter is deceased, or the fact that she wants to kill this mongrel that just did this to her daughter. But she changes the topic. He's just told her her daughter is dead. He's told her there's no doubt about it. And she changes the topic to she wants to know why he went down to Northport. What the heck? Is this some mental thing where she's in denial and she doesn't want to believe that her daughter is deceased? You could think that, except that she's already said, I want to hope this, inferring that she's already lost hope. She's already convinced that her daughter is deceased. And yet, here she is. The detective is trying to get an emotional response from her. He's trying to get the right response from her, the natural response from her. He's expecting her to give some response over the fact that her daughter is dead. He's just told her her daughter is dead. He's waiting for her to react to that. But instead, she wants to know why he went down to Northport. Does that sound normal to you? Does that sound like what you would expect to come out of a mother's mouth when they've just had it confirmed to them that, yes, your child is deceased, and the only person responsible is your ex-partner?
Did you know he was going to Northport?
I thought when I woke up and he wasn't in the hotel, I thought he had gone to the Target Plaza right next door to the hotel we were staying at, because he likes to go shopping when he's stressed. But that's not what happened according to you guys. He actually went all the way to Northport and came back.
So the question is, did you know he was going to Northport? Of course the expected answer here is no. And she actually does say no. If you listen really, really, really hard, she says it so quietly that it is almost imperceptible. But she says it. When does Jenn do this? Jenn does that super quiet Jenn voice when she is lying, or when she's saying something that she knows she's not supposed to say. The fact that she said it so very quietly, to me, says that's a big neon sign saying lie. Huge, huge red flag there. Especially because then she goes into a detailed explanation of what she thought he was doing. She's giving extra details here that weren't asked for. Oh, I just thought he'd gone to the Target. That also doesn't align with her later comment about them basically hauling his ass in for not being there. I can't remember the exact quote, but it fitted in with Chris's one of they'll put a bolo out on your and arrest your ass or whatever. But here, she's saying, I just thought he'd gone to Target, after very, very, very quietly saying no. she knew that he went to Northport. And I'm going to come back to that in another video, because there are some major red flags in another interview with her, which to me point to the fact that she did know that he went down to Northport.
Here's another picture from the dumpster in Venetian Bay of Stefan throwing away trash.
What day?
That's going to be Monday morning, probably around 7:45.
Has the dumpster, has that already been taken? Have you guys been able to look at what was dumped? What was thrown out?
What do you think was in there?
Clothes? I don't know.
What makes you say clothes?
I can't tell what he's holding. I don't know if it's a plastic bag full of stuff or...
Inside of that bag is Maddie's backpack, Maddie's school computer, and one of her Crocs.
Are you telling me we're looking for a body right now?
We're looking for Maddie, absolutely. 100% we're looking for her.
No. Most likely she's not alive.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
You can tell from his tone of voice that that detective has had it with Jenn at that point in time. So why has he had it? So he starts telling her about the dumpster. And her question is not, what did he put in there? You know, what the hell, what is he doing? What's he put in there? Her first question is, has the dumpster already, has that already been taken? Have you guys been able to look? And she asked what day it was, of course, as well. But to her, the most important thing here is that the dumpster may have already been collected, and that they may not have actually been able to see what Stefan put in there. Does that sound like she's concerned about what Stefan put in? No, that sounds like she's more concerned about whether they know what Stefan put in. And she even, from that, goes to what was thrown out. She's trying to find out if they know. She wants to know if they know what was thrown out. And they put that straight back at her. What do you think? And she says, oh, clothes, because I can't see what's in the bag. Now, Jenn would know that there's no clothes in there. Supposedly, she's straightened up the apartment and put things away. She's supposedly stepped all around Maddie's clothes on the bathroom floor. She knows that Maddie's dress was in the laundry hamper. So what clothes would she be expecting to be in that bag? She even says that Stefan didn't bring much clothes down with him. So she's not suggesting that he's thrown out any clothes. So why the heck would she suggest clothes? Other than that is the last thing close to what actually was thrown out. And she follows that with, I don't know. And through this, she's doing her little mousy voice. She doesn't want to be part of this conversation. She doesn't want to give them any answers here. And I suspect that's because she knows full well what was being thrown out. And then, after he tells her that it was the backpack with the school computer and the crock, she comes out with a double Soto sigh. Not just your standard Soto sigh, but a double Soto sigh. Followed with, "Are you telling me we're looking for a body right now?" And I think that's where he just about probably wanted to throttle her, because his response is essentially putting her in her place. She's referred to Maddie as a body. This is her own child. And Maddie is nothing but a body to her. And he responds with, "We're looking for Maddie," not "we're looking for a body." He makes sure that he puts that straight back at her. And look, honestly, the patience of these detectives is phenomenal, because I would have found it hard not to throttle her at that point in time. It's not natural. When a mother loses a child, normally it takes a heck of a long time for them to accept that that child is gone. And yet, here she is, referring to Maddie as a body. Straight up, seeing the backpack, the crock and everything else. No sense of hope. No, what if something else happened? What if there's another explanation for this? Straight away, are you telling me you're looking for a body? Not, are you telling me my child is deceased? Are you telling me Maddie is deceased? But are you telling me we're looking for a body? This woman is cold. She doesn't care about her daughter, and the way she spoke here makes me think that she knew what was in that bag that went into the dumpster, and she already knew that Maddie was deceased.
Right now, we are probably going to start working this case as a homicide.
He's just told her they're about to start working the case as a homicide, and her only response is, "Okay." That's all she's got. That's not a parent who is in shock. Where's the reaction to that? It just seems like a major underreaction to be told we're working this case as a homicide now, and her one and only response is okay. To me, that is really, really disturbing.
Because he's in jail right now for... Okay, he's in jail for that.
Mm-hmm.
But we believe he possibly has done something to Maddie. And we want to know where he would possibly go. Well, this is going to be a very difficult situation. But do you have any knowledge of what he has done with her?
I wish I could tell you, but I don't. I have no idea.
Okay, that statement from her there is all manner of wrong to me. He wants to know if she's got some idea of where Stefan has taken Maddie. And she starts with, "I wish I could tell you." Now, when I hear someone say that, I generally go to them having knowledge. I wish I could tell you, but I can't because I've made a promise. And she even says, I wish I could tell you, but... And then she's like, I have no idea. Well, bullcrap, Jen, because how many times have you spoken about wooded areas? Her saying, I have no idea, is also a huge red flag to me. Because what parent is going to go, I have no idea? You are going to start racking your brain and coming up with all manner of suggestions, whether or not they are the most logical suggestions. You're not going to say, I have no idea. That's dismissal. That's her trying to shut it down. I don't want to answer this question. It's not, I have no idea of the answer. It is, I don't want to answer this question. I wish I could tell you, but I'm not going to tell you, is essentially what the message is that's coming across here when you listen to the words that she's using. And it's all said in that quiet voice that she uses when she's trying to be evasive. Jen has a lot of tells. And fortunately for us, we've got something like 8 hours worth of interviews with this woman that allow us to get a really clear picture of what her baseline is. And to me, that super quiet voice is always when she's trying to be evasive. She's either lying or she's saying something that she realises she probably shouldn't say. When you listen to what she's said here, to me this suggests that she did have a pretty damn good idea of where Stefan took Maddie. Now, I don't know if he told her an exact location of where Maddie was, or whether maybe they'd had some kind of conversation about where he could have taken Maddie. But I truly believe from the things she said that she did have some inkling. Now this time round, I actually paused midway through this conversation. So listen to where it goes from here.
I wish I knew. I wish I knew I would tell you.
So she starts out with, I wish I knew, and she repeats that. This is in that itty bitty Jen voice. And then she says, I would tell you. Here's the thing. Saying, I would tell you, that is persuasive language there. She doesn't need to add that in. She's trying to persuade them that if she knew, she would tell them. Meaning that I couldn't possibly know, because if I knew, I would tell you, right? Now, I could be misinterpreting that. And maybe I'm being too harsh on Jen here, and maybe she genuinely is upset and wishing that she knew where Maddie was. But when she comes out with, I would tell you, that to me blows it out the window. That's her trying to be persuasive. You know, I promise I would tell you if I knew. Think about when a kid gets in trouble and they're crying because they've gotten into trouble and they don't want to admit what they've done. So they come out with, tell you if I did it, even if you can hold it in front of their face and say, look, here you are doing it. It is persuasive language. That is all it is, in my opinion. Please let me know, though, if you disagree with me. Like I said, that is a very subjective call that I'm making right there. But to me, just when you hear everything else she's said, when you stack it all up together, the way she has said it, I'm not convinced.
How long does somebody go to jail for this? Please tell me. It's so much.
If he did something to her that led in her death, yeah, he's going to prison for life. He's probably going to prison for life.
So, like, multiple life sentences, fine. Fuck him. Oh my god.
Okay, there's two things that I can see wrong with this. First of all, she's not asking about Stefan at first. She says, how long can somebody go to jail for this? That's a really unnatural way of asking. She should be asking, is he going to go to jail for life now? Or is Stefan going to go to jail for life now? Not somebody. Somebody isn't directly speaking about Stefan. Is she thinking of somebody else? Somebody else who may have been involved in covering up for Stefan. But here's the biggest thing that concerns me here. She has, and I left that part out because it's just long and tedious, and listening to her fake emotion, because that's what I truly think it is just too painful. But she basically says that that makes it real for her, that solidifies it for her, and that she believes Maddie is dead. And yet she's jumped from being told that her child is deceased, that they are now doing this case as a homicide. She's more concerned about how long Stefan's going to go to jail for, or someone is going to go to jail for. Once again, she's forgotten about Maddie, and not once has she said Maddie's name. Her main concern here is how long someone is going to go to jail for. And then it goes to, she does turn that back onto Stefan, and she doesn't care. Well, of course she shouldn't care. But shouldn't she be thinking more about her child right now than about the fact that Stefan is going to go to jail for life?
Has he ever talked about giving Maddie medication? Like any of his medication?
I don't think so, no.
You don't think so, or?
No.
Okay, so the detective has well and truly got her mark by that point, because when she says, I don't think so, he questions that. You don't think so? And she says very quietly, no. We know that that conversation did occur. I'm not sure if it's this interview or a different one where he actually says to her that there were text messages between her and Stefan where she questioned the fact that Maddie had said to her that she thought the medication that Stefan gave her was bigger than what she normally had. So we already know here that she's lying. She's using that quiet voice and the I don't think so. That's not a positive answer. That's an evasive answer. And even though he pushed her and he's like, you don't think so? She says no. But is she saying no to no, I don't think so, or no to no, we've never had that conversation. There's a difference there. Because if someone were to ask you, if you say I don't think so, and someone says you don't think so, the natural response is generally going to be no, I don't think so. Not yes, I don't think so. That doesn't sound natural. So her saying no isn't necessarily her saying no, that's not the conversation we ever had.
Okay. Have you ever given her any of your medication?
She's got her own anxiety medication.
Do you double check her medication?
When we give it to her? Yeah.
And again, her answer was evasive. They asked her, have you ever given her any of your medication? And her answer, she doesn't say no. She says, Maddie has her own medication, or her own anxiety medication. She even differentiates there. They could be referring to any of her medications, but she homes in on the anxiety medication. Jenn's medications are going to be stronger, and they would knock the shit out of Maddie. Has she basically just admitted here that her own anxiety medications were being used to drug Maddie? Because she's not answered the question. She did not say no, she just said Maddie has her own medications. Maddie might have her own medications, but that doesn't stop you from still medicating her with yours. You're not answering the question. And they didn't push that, which is frustrating. The other thing that I'm curious about is when he asks her, do you check her medications? She says, when we give them to her. Asking him if that's what he means. When else would you need to check Maddie's medications? Except perhaps were you to suspect that maybe there were fewer medications in the bottle than there should have been, and maybe you suspected that someone was taking them and you needed to check them. I don't know, but I just find it really odd the way she questions him there. There's definitely something really odd in that conversation. Not the least bit, of course, being the whole her avoiding saying whether or not Maddie's been given her medications before. But she's definitely being deceptive, and yeah, I think there's a bit of a leaked truth here.
Since I haven't been able to go back home, I've been at my sister's house just hiding out. I don't want to be seen in public. I don't want anyone. I already had my own security gate. Like when I drove in there, they recognized me by my name, and when I told them my name and just the response, I wasn't prepared for just everyone to recognize me and know what's happening.
Just one simple question. Why would you need to hide out unless you felt guilty? And why would you be worrying about people recognizing you? Wouldn't you be glad of feeling supported by your community? I can't say whether that should be the case, because obviously this is not something I've ever experienced. But her being so desperate to hide and not be seen and not be recognised by people, that's a concern to me. Is that a leakage? Is she inadvertently admitting guilt here?
I tried to go out a little bit yesterday to keep my mind off of things. Just to buy I don't have a toothbrush. I don't have anything. But the moment we were out in public, I felt so exposed and I shouldn't be out. I shouldn't be doing any of this. I grabbed what I needed quickly and we left. don't want to be out in public right now.
Did you feel like people were watching you?
Not people were watching me, but I just didn't like the night before that, the security guard's reaction to me telling her my name and who I was, that I was coming into my apartment. That overloaded me so much.
So she feels like she shouldn't be out in public, and she doesn't like people recognizing her. It overloaded her when the security guard realized who she was. To me, that is a major admission of guilt. Okay, so I haven't factored in anxiety there. We know that Jenn struggles with anxiety. But at the same time, if people are recognizing you, you would expect that they were being supportive of you. In which case, it wouldn't be something where you feel like you shouldn't be out in public. I don't know. Maybe I'm calling it wrong here, and maybe it is just all to do with Jenn's anxiety. But it is a concern to me, and to me it does seem like it could in fact be an admission of guilt of some sorts. I'd be really keen to know what other people think with regards to that. So it's been quite a long one. Thanks for sticking with me if you have followed right through. I'm not sure if I've quite stuck with the actual title of this video, because I was meant to be talking about leaked truths. And while all these things do show her guilt, I'm not sure if we could describe every single one of them as leaked truths, but they certainly do point to a different truth from what Jenn is giving us in each instance. So I'm really keen to hear people's thoughts on the things I've covered in this video. I'm looking forward to reading your comments and see what you've got to say. So thanks for listening. If you're new, please subscribe to my channel. Also hit the like so we can get this video out into the algorithm and seen by more people. And of course, leave a comment below. What are your thoughts? Do you think Jenn is making herself look guilty here? Do you think I'm being too hard on her? Do you think I'm not allowing enough leeway here for her mental health problems? Really keen to know what other people think. So thanks, and I'll catch you in the next one.